is that gender equality wasn't something I'd spent much time thinking about, and the birds and the bees just weren't my focus. As a youngster, I'd gotten by, and as a parent, I figured those details would somehow sort themselves out for my kids, perhaps with a nice pamphlet on a day when I planned to be out of town. I never set out to be a champion of the facts of life. So, what sparked my curiosity? How did I become passionate about exploring attitudes toward sexuality, and especially the way we teach our kids about this still largely taboo subject? Looking back now, I can see that the journey began with my first pregnancy. I felt deep in my body that I knew how to carry, give birth to, and nurture a child, and I was surprised how many controlling and conflicting messages came my way about how to behave and look while pregnant, how to give birth in the best possible way, and how to be a good parent. Once my daughter was born, trying to be a perfect mother, even by standards I handpicked myself, made me stressed and miserable. The other parents I knew in our Minneapolis neighborhood, especially the mothers, seemed just as frustrated and overwhelmed. Our babies were fine, if maybe a tad demanding, but we, their caretakers, were barely hanging on. When Caroline was almost 2, Dan's airline job relocated to the Netherlands, and we moved to the heart of Amsterdam, a city world famous for its openness and tolerance. It was uncanny, but almost as soon as we arrived there, something felt better. As a parent, I felt expected to be human, not superhuman. As a woman, I no longer felt examined and judged, and therefore I soon became newly comfortable in my own skin. I marveled, and sometimes puzzled, at the openness and pragmatism with which Dutch families raised their kids. At first, I couldn't put my finger on why things felt so different. But as I eventually learned, this was simply how it felt to live in one of the world's most gender-equal societies. Shortly after we moved back to the United States, this time to our hometown of Seattle, Caroline's little sister Libby was born. No longer angsty about how to take good care of babies, Dan and I now found ourselves worrying about how to raise 2 happy, healthy daughters as we perceived American gender norms with fresh eyes. Pink and blue toy and clothing aisles, early and even earlier sexualization, baby bikinis, chick magnet onesies, and a ubiquitous, withering male gaze. It had always been there, that constant sense of being watched and appraised that every American girl finds a way of living with. But after we'd spent a year and a half without it, the gaze and its wounding power were much more obvious now. More than anything, I wanted my daughters to grow up without shame. I wanted them to be at home in their bodies and to always speak their needs, desires, and ambitions, except at bedtime when I just wanted them to go to sleep. I wanted them to always love and be loved in healthy, secure relationships. It turned out that my friends raising sons had analogous concerns, as they too tried to teach their children to honorably navigate a culture that objectifies bodies, normalizes rape, and rewards a cramped idea of masculinity. It took time to figure out my next move, but eventually I understood that I needed to relearn how to think about sexuality. I needed to dramatically change my approach when it came to bodies, relationships, and love, urgently, while my children were still young. And once I became aware that raising happy, healthy children would mean acknowledging sex in a whole new way, and might mean dealing in unfamiliar ways with my own uncertainties about intimacy and pleasure, it only took a few conversations with friends to confirm that I wasn't alone in asking questions at the edge of my comfort zone, and hoping to find fresh, modern, and realistic answers. Clearly, it was time to bring the birds and the bees into the 21st century. But how? I had lived in the Netherlands long enough to notice what my Dutch friends and their children experienced. Super low teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted infection, STI, and abortion rates, more positive, consensual sexual encounters, better parent-teen relationships, and far more